Hello, welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. Andrew Musgrove here. Hope you guys are all doing well. Do hit thumbs up, do hit subscribe, get into the comments as well. And if you're listening on the audio only platform, thank you as always. Do leave us a rating and review. And a big thumbs up to NORD VPN, our sponsors of the podcast. Hit the link in the podcast description box. Stay safe and support the podcast at the same time. What are we going to talk about tonight, ladies and gents? Well, your guess is good as mine. We could talk about the Champions League draw that has taken place, or we could start with the best news. The news that I think actually makes you guys feel top of the world. How are you doing? I asked. I reckon you guys will be doing just fine, because Newcastle United's search for a striker is finally over. Get the bunting out. I am so happy to say those words. Of course, we have to wait until he passes his medical and he's holding up the shirt and it's all confirmed. But it does look like Newcastle United have finally got a striker. And not just any striker, one of the best strikers in Europe, or at least that's the hope. But this man has a big reputation, big potential, and people are expecting big things of him. Who is it? Well, you'll know by now. Nick Woltemade, Stuttgart striker. He's landed on Tyneside, flown in private jet, and he will hopefully complete his medical tomorrow morning. Bit of a race against time to get him registered ahead of that trip to Ellen Road against Leeds United, of course, taking place 5:30 on Saturday evening. You'll have to be registered by 12 midday on Friday, so that might be an early start for the Newcastle United medical staff, but I'm sure he's fit as anything and will sail through his medical. So there might be a chance we see him at Ellen Road on Saturday, which would be a huge boost. But even if we don't, the news itself has really lifted the spirits of you guys, the fans, and no doubt the squad and the players as well. And it also potentially opens the door for Alexander Isak to finally get out of Newcastle United. More on that in a moment. But the first thing I want to say is, I think this is how transfers should be done. And I know that sounds a strange thing. I am a journalist, and of course I want to get the scoops and what have you. But I like this. I like the fact that no one had this story until the lad was on the plane flying to Tyneside. And then it was broken, of course, by Craig Hope, fantastic journalist, and then others also followed in what information they had. But no one had this like the rest of the transfer rumours that have played out, like the Wissa, like the Strand Larson. This is sagas, hasn't it? You know, bids being considered, bids being rejected. Newcastle like this player, like that player, and it's just dragged out and dragged out. I mean, this morning we were thinking the Strand Larson one was going to drag on to deadline day. You know, Newcastle had 2 bids. Then Strand Larson being told by the Wolves owner that he couldn't leave even though he wanted to. Would Newcastle then go in with a 3rd bid and try and test the resolve even more of the Wolves owner? And you were just expecting 4 more days of just frustration and a saga. And it's been the same with Wissa, it's been the same with Pedro, it's been the same with other players who haven't come to Newcastle United. But this one has come out of the blue. Lad on the plane at Tyneside, as it was reported in the press, landed, bang, expecting the medical tomorrow. I mean, this for me is the way transfers should be done. All for it. Don't tell my bosses, they're probably not a big fan of me liking how this has played out. But I just like it. You know, it just means Newcastle haven't had the chance to get gazumped by a team who could offer more money, or more money to be offered to Stuttgart. You know, it just means Newcastle United have been able to go about their business clinically, get the job done in the background, in the silence, in the shadows, however you want to describe it, get him to Newcastle, and here he is, hopefully signed before that registration deadline of midday on Friday. Now, the price tag is a little high for some. It's nearly a £70 million package. It will be a record fee paid by Newcastle United. But we have to consider all the elements at play. First off, Stuttgart were not in a position where they had to sell. They've also looked at other strikers who have gone this summer, mainly Ekitike. He scored a few more goals than Woltemade in the Bundesliga. Stuttgart considered him as a similar player to their player, and seen him go to Liverpool for big money, seen that Newcastle also were in the market for him for big money, and have put a price tag on Woltemade of a similar range and a little bit cheaper in the end, but not by too much. Now, Bayern Munich were in for him, and this is the funny thing about this. Woltemade, although the deal that's going to get completed wasn't reported until the very, very end of the saga, so to speak. I mean, it wasn't even a saga, but he was linked earlier in the summer. But then the news of Bayern Munich in for him. They wanted him to be Harry Kane's apprentice. I think scared off any suitors, including Newcastle United, because everyone just expected that he was going to go to Bayern Munich. But Stuttgart held strong in their price tag, And Bayern Munich was scared off by it in the end. I think the maximum they went to was 60 million euros. I didn't want to go any higher. Newcastle United, of course, have gone much higher than that and met the asking price. The other kind of situation that Newcastle find themselves in is that the deadline day is just a matter of days away. They need a striker. Even before we consider Alexander Isak, they need a striker to replace Callum Wilson. Haven't got that in. They've seen rejections. Strand Larson, bloody Nora, Brentford just playing dumb in my opinion, but again, it's their prerogative to hold out for as much as they want. That's up to them. Fair play to them. Why wouldn't you? So they were a little bit desperate, I think, to get a striker over the line. And sometimes desperation makes you do silly things, and sometimes desperation actually puts you in a very weak position, doesn't it? And selling clubs can take advantage of that. But actually what's happened here is that they're going to get a very, very good player, a man who's got a lot of room to improve, but has certainly shown that he's got something about him. I mean, he starred in the U21s this summer. Okay, didn't do too well against England, but still put in a very good performance in each of the other rounds. He had a very good season last season, 17 goals in all competitions. He is a man where big things are expected of him. The versatility is key here. He can play up front, can play as a second striker, and can play as a number 10. So could offer Newcastle United or Eddie Howe a chance to do something different with the formation, of course, if they got another striker in as well. But people are very excited about this, and quite rightly. You speak to people who watch German football, and they really do think that this man is a talent, and he has got so many levels to go. And not the biggest compliment you can pay him is that a team like Bayern Munich, who don't go out and spend silly money for the sake of it, they're very, very good at picking the right players to join an elite squad, because they are arguably, one of the best teams in Europe. They wanted him. I mean, that is a massive compliment, and it shows you that it's a massive coup for Newcastle United to get this player through the door that was wanted by Bayern Munich. I mean, that in itself should shut off any doubt that this guy has at least got the potential. Now, he's got to realise that potential, and of course, coming from the Bundesliga to the Premier League isn't the easiest steps. We've seen players fail on that journey, but we've seen players be successful as well, and hopefully this man can live up to his potential and score the goals that Newcastle United certainly have been missing in the opening 2 games of the Premier League season. Very, very excited about this one. Will he take the number 9 shirt? I think he might do. I know Johan Wissa wanted it, but I think it might be first come, first serves, to be honest, and I think he will end up taking it. We haven't had too many German players in Newcastle United. We've also had Dieter Hamann. Have we had anyone else that springs to mind? I'm sure someone will pop into the comments. Of course, Malik Thiaw just signed this summer, but other than that, we haven't had too many. So I think he might only actually be the 3rd German player for Newcastle, at least in the Premier League era. I know football began well before 1992. But anyway, let me know in the comments on that. How excited are you for his arrival? I'm very excited by this one. Very, very excited. Now, what does it mean for Alexander Isak? Because Liverpool fans, and no doubt some of you will get into the comments here because you have been managing to get onto these videos, and I'm all for it. Extra views, fantastic. Hello, hope you're well. Do get into the comments. You guys are getting a little bit excited that this means Newcastle United are going to sell Alexander Isak, and that maybe you might even get a potential bargain. I don't think that's going to happen. If Newcastle do cash in, I think you're still going to have to pay at least 130 million with add-ons to get him. I think they will want to hold out to as close as possible to 150 million. But there is no guarantee that just because Woltemade signs, that Alexander Isak leaves. Not at all. The word is that Newcastle United will be more open to the fact, yes, but they want to sign a second striker. And that happening will then pretty much guarantee Alexander Isak going to Liverpool. Of course, Liverpool need to put in a bid worthy of his value, and so far they haven't done that. I don't see a way back for Alexander Isak. I think it's very difficult for him to return to this Newcastle United squad. I think he's not only burnt his bridges with the majority of the fan base, but I also think a lot of the players have been put out by his actions. With that in mind, I can see Newcastle United selling them without a second striker coming in. My preference would be a second striker coming in because I think they're incredibly light if it's just the one. Who that would be? Well, Strand Larson is a very similar player to Woltemade, so I can't see that happening. As much as I love Strand Larson, you want something a little bit different, and that's where Johan Wissa comes into play. Newcastle still like him, are still trying to get that deal done. Brentford are holding out for as much money as possible, and you can understand why. I mean, Keith Andrews is so keen though to get him back into the squad. He wants to keep him. He's not going to play him this weekend because, again, it's, he's not switched on enough. He's not focused enough. This one will probably run until deadline day. Part of me thinks it will still get done, but I think it'll only get done if Newcastle United kind of back down in their approach to this deal. Obviously, 40, 45, 50 million is about where we are with it. I think they're going to have to maybe pay a little bit more than that, which to many, again, is an astronomical number. I get that. But for all the reasons that Woltemade is a big spend, whoever that second striker is going to be a big outlay as well. Time is not on Newcastle United's side. Selling clubs know exactly what they, as a Newcastle, need. So Newcastle United may have to just kind of through gritted teeth pay 55, maybe with add-ons to get U21s. And look, right, it is a big amount of money, but he is proven in the Premier League. He offers you something different. And I tell you what, him on the end of those crosses that were there on Monday night from Alanga, he's banging in the goals. And if he scores you 15 goals this season and gets you another 10 the season after, and you qualify for the Champions League, then 55 million with add-ons or 60, if it goes up 60, whatever, it'll be so worthwhile. It was the same with Strand Larson, quotes of 60 million plus. For me, I was looking at the bigger picture. You're buying a player who can score your goals, and that will get you to the Champions League, and that is the main purpose of all of this. So if you have to pay a little bit extra, I don't particularly care, because I think it's just what you need to get over the line in terms of qualifying for the Champions League next season. So if they have to pay a little bit extra for Wissa, get it done, and then you can cash in on Isak and get a huge amount of money for him, which will set you up nicely for the windows to come. It's going to be really interesting to see how this ends. I do think there's a strong chance Wissa still becomes a Newcastle United player. I think it'll be a deadline day deal. Not as easy to say as you might think. I also think Alexander Isak, if he does leave, whether that be as Wissa comes in or even just one striker coming in, I still think that'll get done. Probably Monday as well, but who knows? This is football. We've seen how quick this deal has moved. Deals can happen in a matter of hours. It's now probably down to Liverpool to test Newcastle United's resolve, but to come back with a sensible bid. Don't come back with 110 plus add-ons or 120 plus 5 million, 10 million add-ons. Come back with a proper sensible bid, 130 maybe, with 10 million on add-ons, and see where you get. I think that maybe at this present point in time, the window starts the ball rolling, given that Isak has not changed his tune and is, if anything, hardened his stance after a meeting on Monday and wants to leave. But Liverpool, if they're serious, need to come in with a serious bid. Right, just finally, before I do sign off, small matter of the Champions League, of course, and some really exciting draws for Newcastle United. Barcelona at home. Tino Aspia will no doubt be a guest of honour at that game. We all remember his hat-trick, don't we? 1997. Keith Gillespie, arguably with the best wingers performance we've seen at St James's Park, with some unbelievable crosses into the box and Tino meeting them. What a night that was. We've also got Benfica at home last year during the Europa League campaign under Alan Pardew. That was an unbelievable night, that one. PSV, they were last year, if my mind serves me, my memory serves me correctly, under, it was in the UEFA Cup campaign, they had Kezman up front. We won that game because then we went on to face Marseille later in the competition. I'm pretty sure that's the last competitive game they came in. I might be wrong, someone will tell me, but that's a good fixture. And Athletic Bilbao as well, looking forward to that one. I think the home games, Barcelona aside, very winnable. And then away, you got PSG. I'm sure a lot of you guys wouldn't have wanted to go back to Paris because you want to experience something new. But then on the flip side of that, you want to extract some revenge for that referee in Howler 2 years ago, which cost Newcastle United arguably progress through to the next round. We've also got a trip to Marseille. We all remember Didier Drogba destroying our hearts in the semi-final of the UEFA Cup many a year ago. And Union Saint-Gilloise, which is in Belgium. It's in Brussels, but kind of one of the outer regions of Brussels, if my geography is correct, somewhere called Forest. So that's going to be quite a unique journey, and I believe that their stadium doesn't have roofs on it. Is that right? Someone will correct me. But I would love to go to that. I think that would be an unbelievable experience. I got no interest in going to Marseille or PSG, but do send me away to either Bayer Leverkusen, which is the other fixture I haven't mentioned, or to Union St-Gilles, because I also want to get a close look at Promise David, who plays up front for them. I've been talking about him all summer on the podcast. I think he is a brilliant player, huge potential, Canadian international, and I can't wait to see him up against our defence to see if my prediction of him being a big star is right. He is tipped for big things, and I can't wait to see him in the flesh. But yeah, Champions League draw. That was going to be the main focus of this video, ladies and gents. I was going to tell you all about it, all about my excitement, and it's been overtaken by Newcastle United doing business in the transfer market for one of the hottest prospects in Europe. Absolutely brilliant. I am buzzing. I mean, already buzzing at the draws and the fixtures that we've got to come. And then that news breaking was just the cherry on top of the cake. And we are waiting for the fixtures to be confirmed and when these games will be played. Match day 1, 16th to the 18th of September, so not too long to wait. Then you've got another one at the end of that month. Then you've got one in October, 2 in November, 1 in December, and 2 in January before the knockout phases midway through February. So those fixtures should be confirmed by Saturday, is what I believe to be the case. So look out for that. And it's just going to be interesting to see what the first game at St James's Park is. I'm not sure whether, because they drew Barcelona first, whether it goes in order of the names out of the hat. Someone may be able to tell me. But anyway, we'll find out in a couple of days' time. The calendar for the Champions League. And look, it's all about progression. Obviously, we want to go and visit some great places, some new places, and you know, that list, other than PSG, we're doing that. But it's about progression. So I think we've got a nice mix there. We've got some new places to go that people probably haven't been to before, that team in Belgium being one of them, but also teams that you would expect Newcastle United to beat, especially at home. And look, Barcelona, obviously one of the best sides in Europe, big reputation, but then so were PSG, and they came and were absolutely blown away. So we can create that same atmosphere, similar to the one we saw on Monday against Liverpool. Newcastle United will give Barcelona a huge test and hopefully come out with all 3 points. But I think they've got a good chance of progressing to the knockout phase if they win the games against the likes of Union St-Gilles, Bayer Leverkusen, you know, even likes of Benfica. I know they're a good side, of course, one of the best in Portugal, but it's one of those where you compare the leagues, you would probably put Newcastle and above Benfica when it comes to what they should achieve. So that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments which away day you're most looking forward to. And I will see you guys very soon. Do hit thumbs up. Do hit subscribe. Thank you very much for tuning in. And I'll catch you in a bit.